All right, folks. Welcome to Nino's Corner Fluff 2 Position. I'm with Ismael Perez, good friend, like-minded. Contacted me because obviously I had that epiphany or that what I call a download about a solar flare. That I feel I had Daniel Brinkley on to talk about it in one of my shows on Nino's Corner.tv. It's actually stirred up quite a bit of attention. I feel like it's a very real possibility that not if, but when. I feel like it's when. And the download that I got was matter of fact. I don't get many of those, but in the last 4 years, I've had a few, and I think this is real. I think this is going to happen. Ismael, thank you very much for joining me. Ismael is the author of The Secret Government and Our Cosmic Origin. Hell of an author. Thank you for joining me, Ismael.
Nino, it's a great pleasure and honor to be here, my friend, and be part of this good fight.
Dude, I see this happening. Now a lot of people think conspiracy tinfoil hat stuff. Well, this happened before in the 1800s with the Carrington event, right? And it
Absolutely.
knocked out all the telegraph wires.
Mhm.
It sounds like we're overdue for this to happen again. I don't know. When I had this epiphany or this download that I like to call it, it was in the morning when I was just right when my eyes opened before I could formulate a thought. Boom! I was hit with it, and like instantaneously hit with it, like where I could put all the pieces together, just bam, and I was like, holy shit! It is a solar flare. That's what
Mhm.
everyone's really preparing for. That's what both sides know that this is going to happen, right? The elites,
Absolutely.
they're
Yeah.
building bunkers, the whole thing. And in my mind, I'm like, that's it. That's it. But why? My only question is why are they after so much control now? Why don't they just wait till this happens and start over after it happens?
Well, because from a cabal perspective, they're trying to steer more fear in people. And that's why it's been all over the news. Oh, another Carrington event. Since we haven't had one since what is it, 1859, and we're scheduled to have another one. This is what the reports are telling us due to what's happening with the geomagnetic storms that are happening with our sun, and with NOAA and NASA measuring the G5 flares that are coming in. Well, this is something that is actually biblical when you really think about it. When the Bible talks about the 3 days of darkness, it's a metaphor, my friend. It's a metaphor describing how there will be some sort of grid takeout, electrical gadgets, everything, internet shutdown. But the good news is that the Earth Alliance, aka the white hats, and the positive extraterrestrials, are mitigating they're going to mitigate the situation. They have new technology in place in order to make sure that we don't go further than 3 days of darkness. And this kind of corresponds to the biblical prophecy of how the good people of the earth, the righteous,
So
will over.
I guess my audience would want to know right now, how do you know this? How do you know this? Like, is it from research you've done studying these extraterrestrials, or do you believe you get downloads? Are you channeling? How do you know that these, and I have to kind of play both sides here, but I don't understand how you understand. How is this matter of fact to you? Because
Well,
it sounds like a conspiracy in a conspiracy. Like it's like, okay,
absolutely.
no, we can just
Well, I
keep going
mean,
down the rabbit hole.
exactly. The term conspiracy itself was coined by the three-letter alpha agency
Right.
to describe those that are critical thinkers. But the deeper you go into the rabbit hole, but to answer your question, I do get transmissions. I have done my research. There's a lot of cosmological, you could say, elements regarding what is about to take place here on this planet. And this involves not only the revolution of planets around our star, but it also revolves our solar system moving at a rapid pace around a greater sun. I don't know if you ever heard of the concept or phenomena of the photon belt or the photon band.
Yeah, but would this have to do with a binary system?
Yes, yeah, every 25,000 years, and this has been scientifically proven. I mean, even you could even see it in the fossil records that our solar system aligns with the central sun. And when it does so, it causes some sort of amazing change on a planetary and stellar and solar system level. So this event that is happening here is not just affecting our planet, it's affecting the entire solar system because our solar system is moving into a part of our galaxy where the energy is very high, where the energy
Okay, so
is
this kind of goes with the Mayan calendar.
absolutely, yeah,
So this is like what, a 25,000 something year cycle or something like that. Am I right?
absolutely. It happens every 25,000 years.
And so what happens? A spontaneous evolution, a spontaneous
Spontaneous. Yeah. Yeah,
a shift in consciousness, or I mean, or does it?
everything. Yeah, there is scientific evidence that actually the electromagnetic grid system of the planet affects human consciousness. And that explains why some people, if they're not spiritually right, they tend to go a little bit more crazier when events like this take place. And the people that are spiritually right, well, guess what? They become exalted, they become upgraded. And that's what's happening right now. It is an upscaling of our star. Our sun is also going through an evolutionary process, right? Our star is shifting from a yellow star into a white sun, all right? It goes through its different evolutionary phases, but it's also a planetary shift in the planet's electromagnetic grid and cellular upgrade as well. So it's affecting our DNA. As I speak right now, there is constant communication going on between the sun, because the sun is a living entity, by the way. Some people tend to think that
I believe that.
some people tend to think that we live in an inanimate universe, but the truth of the matter is, and based on the new revelations, according to cutting edge science, we live in a sentient universe. Even our galaxy is alive, our star, our planet, everything in existence is conscious and sentient. And so there is a collaboration taking place on a greater scale of reality where the energies, the plasma waves that are coming in from our star, which are actually technically coming in from the galactic core, because again, our solar system is emerging once again into this band of energy known as the photon belt. That is communicating with our DNA at a cellular level. So this explains the upgrades that are taking place right now, and we see this happening.
But this won't happen for everybody.
And no, it's only
Probably
going to
the
happen.
people that got this won't happen for.
Well, it depends. It depends if they're right with God. If they're right with God, all that stuff. Okay, put it this way: the solar flash is synonymous to the second coming of the Christ. The activation of the Christ grid, which is going to affect and upgrade the species to a higher level of existence into unity consciousness, which is where we're heading. Some people call it, the fifth dimensional Earth, heaven on Earth. Well, how do you think we're going to ever enter a millennium where people could finally live together in cooperation, harmony, and see each other as children of the one God? Is by what? By upgrading our consciousness to the level of unity, to the level of cooperation, brotherly and sisterly agape love. Well, that, my friend, is also directly related to the planetary grid system. So right now, as I speak, the planetary grid system is being upgraded. There's being some sort of an activation taking place due to the CMEs that are coming in, that is causing, you could say, a reactivation of the Christ mind on a collective level. So what I was saying is that the solar flares are actually communicating with us on a cellular level. They're activating codons, new strands of DNA, because we have 10 strands that are disconnected, right? Scientists call it junk DNA.
Well, and light carries information, carries code.
Codes, exactly. So that's what's happening. From a non-fear perspective, this is biblical. What's about to take place is very biblical. But don't get me wrong, we do have the Earth Alliance. We do have Space Force that is working with positive extraterrestrials who are going to mitigate the situation, and so that way we don't have to endure.
So do the things that, and I don't want to say it on here, but that when we look up in the sky and see all these trails, is that them trying to stop us from this ascension?
Yes, those are actually drones. They're not even piloted by humans anymore.
Wow.
But that's their effort to prevent the activation of dormant DNA they're trying to block the plasma waves that are coming in.
Because we're a food source to whatever these entities are that need us, so correct? That control us through fear. Is that allegedly?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yes. Yes, we have been food source for thousands of years, ever since they reversed our magnetic grid into a non-unity consciousness state of mind, which is, a separative consciousness.
This is just kind of like, to me, you're really explaining the Bible in deeper text, because this to me sounds like this is more of a this is a spiritual war, and symbolically the way it's explained in the Bible, but the way you're adding complexities to this, or actually detailing it further, in a cosmic galactic level, correct? The
Absolutely.
heavens as being cosmic.
Yeah, because it's a collaborated effort that is taking place where the entire universe which is sentient, is orchestrating this event. Because, get this, okay, so our sun is being sustained by the universal life force, or the emanations that come from the galactic core. In turn, our galactic core is being sustained by the emanations that are coming from the great central sun at the core of our universe. But then there's more. Our universe is one of many universes that is also being sustained by a supercentral sun that is coming from a super universe, which is a conglomerate of different universes put into one, super universe. But so this whole thing is being orchestrated by the cosmos.
So we live in a holographic fractal, like fractals.
Absolutely, where everything is alive and conscious, yeah. And that explains why everything is really boils down to just one cosmic consciousness, which is what we call our prime creator, God.
Does that go with as above, so below?
As above, so below, exactly.
So I had Daniel Brinkley on Nino's Corner.tv, where he's talking about the solar flare happening at a certain, he saw visions of it happening by 2025, right? This is where he says that he feels this is going to happen. My personal download that I got was not if, but when. I just don't know a date, but I don't feel like it's this. I don't feel like it's this year. I think it's, and I'm not, and my confusion lies in, will it be like an EMP and they blame it on something like that, or will it actually be a solar flare? Or Daniel tends to believe it'll be both.
Yes, he's correct, because there is evidence that right now we're not even at solar maximum. When solar maximum begins? At the beginning of 2025, but we're heading to that point. So the certain blasts that we've received in the last week and a half, which have been record scale, right? I think one was G5 solar flare, G5.8, which of course, many people were able to see the aurora borealis, but it's going to get even more powerful as we approach the spring of 2025. And that, my friend, is when we enter solar maximum. So he is indeed right. And there is a lot of scientific evidence to back this up, that between now and spring of 2025, we'll have some sort of event that is going to technically knock out everything, energy as we know it. But again, the Earth Alliance, with the different commanders that are working within the Association of Worlds, they have certain technologies in place that are going to mitigate that, so that we don't go longer than 3 days of darkness.
But I mean, for some, will it be an instantaneous shift, and like you don't even realize it happened? Like maybe the Earth shifts and moves into another dimension, a lighter dimension, as others maybe stay on a more denser dimension. Could that happen? Could it shift, the Earth shift into two different dimensions, and one consciousness goes this way, the other gets held down in the lower dimensional frame?
Absolutely. Well, yeah, even the Bible talks about how there's going to
be so maybe there won't be, what I'm saying is there won't be a darkness. Maybe we don't even realize it happens so fast. It's instantaneously our DNA gets an upgrade, and we just don't know where those other people went. We just never see them again. We don't even realize it. Could that happen?
That's called the harvest, the rapture. There's so many terminologies to describe that split. There's the splitting of the timelines, that I've been talking about, where there's going to be a positive organic timeline where the good and the righteous people reap the new earth, and then there's going to be a negative timeline where the wicked go. So basically, when this shift takes place, or this great solar flash, which many call the event, there is going to be a split, from the righteous and the negatives, and that's why. Go ahead.
So what I'm trying to say here is, I think so. If we experience 3 days of darkness or whatever it is, that's obvious. Is that the negative timeline that we're experiencing, or
No.
or okay? Explain that, because I would imagine if we go through darkness, then those are the ones that are going to be left here to deal with whatever problems that arise on Earth. But the other ones won't even realize the shift happened, and it'll be an upgrade in DNA, and they'll be on the higher ascension.
Right.
So that makes sense.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. So it all depends if whether we enter the photon belt fully emerged through the sun or the back of our solar system. So if we enter it through the sun, we're actually going to have the opposite of 3 days of darkness. We're going to have 3 days of just pure light, which is going to upgrade our DNA. And then after the 3 days, we're going to all be in a new reality, which is going to be rid of all evil. Okay, a reality where there is no more, nothing like that, no more, stuff in the sky, no more, tower, nothing is going to, that is negative will be there. However, if we enter the photon belt through the back of our solar system, there will be 3 days of darkness. But just to make this clarification, after the 3 days of darkness, as our body becomes acclimated to the new atmospheric conditions, to the new ecosystem, which is going to be much lighter, we are going to come to understand, first of all, our senses are going to open. The veil that separates our reality from the higher dimensions is going to dissolve, and we're going to have access to our full consciousness, which means we're going to have recollection of who we were in past lives and what we are in our higher dimensions. It's all going to come back to us. So absolutely, my friend, there's going to be some sort of you could say a new reality, and
A
it
rebirth.
will happen. A rebirth, you could say, but it will happen instantaneously. Absolutely.
And I heard we'll be given like powers, like gifts, like
Spiritual
telepathy.
gifts. Telepathy, yeah, exactly.
So will our bodies remain the same from your perspective? Will our bodies remain the same, or will we become more like translucent, transparent? Will we be? Because it seems to me, if we're hiring in frequency, we won't need these heavy bodies.
Well, our bodies are still going to be physical, but less dense. And this is what the Bible calls the celestial bodies. We're going to be returning back to that because remember, the original Adam and Eve were immortal celestial beings. They were downgraded into mortality, right? I don't know if you know about the original Adam and Eve were actually immortal before they took the bait from the snake in the Garden of Eden, which was, of course, a metaphor describing the Anunnaki's interference. But their time is up. So the whole point is, yes, our bodies are going to be less denser. We're going to be still physical, and get this, we're still going to have our organs. All right, we're still going to have our parts. So, because a lot of people ask me, well, is intercourse going to exist in the fifth dimensional reality? And the answer to that is absolutely, but it's going to be less dense. So it's still going to be a physical reality, but the only difference is that we're going to be all in tune with spirit. Every single person is going to have a direct connection with spirit.
So would it be more like you're attracted to someone that's more like vibing or vibrating at your frequency than just looks or like something that's physical? Would it be more of a spiritual type of attraction? Like, do you get what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, I see what you're saying. The answer to that is yes, absolutely. And the thing is, it's like there will be no more death as well. As we begin to activate what is known as our crystalline DNA, which is going to allow our bodies to become less dense. First and foremost, we're going to regress. So people that are over 50 are going to look back to looking 30. So that's another good thing that we're looking forward to, right, in the new earth. Age and illnesses will be no more because of the fact that we're going to be using 50% crystalline genetics and 50% carbon-based genetics. So now we're going to have access to the light body, which is what the Bible calls a celestial body. We're going to be part light body, part material, but the material body will be constantly generated by the light body. See, right now we're using 100% carbon-based genetics, and so that explains why we die and we age. And also right now we're only using 2 strands of DNA, and again that has a lot to do with our carbon-based genetics.
There's supposed to be 12. Is there 12?
Yeah, the original Adam and Eve were made with 12 strands, and that explains why we have 10 disconnected strands.
So let me ask you this: like, I have a very large Christian audience. They're going to say, blasphemy. This is New Age stuff. Where does Jesus Christ fit into all this?
I'm glad you asked that question. Well, Jesus Christ is the creator of our universe. I know some of the people within our community are going to be like, what do you mean, Ismael? Well, he is the Logos made flesh. He is the creator who incarnated into physical form 2,000 years ago to show us what is known as the path of ascension, which is something that we could all undergo if we so choose to follow in his way. See, one of the things that I talked about in my book that I just released, The Secret Government, is that the original Whiteheads were followers of the way. They were the covenanteers. They were those that believed in following the principles of unity consciousness, living in cooperation with one another, and also understanding that everything in existence is interconnected and sacred. And that's what he came to show us how to become one with everything else. And when he talks about me and the Father are one, well, who do you think the Father is? The Father is pretty much the spirit and the consciousness that animates the entire universe, which is everything. So he came to show us how to reconnect with everything in existence and how to become one with it.
So people will
absolutely.
ask, why isn't this in the Bible? Why do they say this in the Bible? Is it in the Bible? It's just
It was, but you have to understand that you know, Jesus never left any written records. In fact, what we know of him in the Bible was compiled by Constantine in the Council of Nicaea, which of course we know that they were working for the cabal back then. You know, it was all
so everything that's happening right now. Like, I mean, we all see it, and it just seems like every day you turn on the MSM, it's just bad news, bad news. We're just being bombarded by bad news. But a lot, what I tell people is a lot of exposing is happening. And this is what has to happen before what I would believe is any type of rapture or ascension, correct?
Yeah. Well, what do you think the word apocalypse means?
To reveal, correct?
To reveal. Yes,
Right.
and that's what's happening. You know, but right now it's happening in droplets. You know, wait till the iceberg breaks and it just the flood of information comes, and that's what we called the Great Awakening. It's already happening, but it's going to happen to the extent where everything will be revealed again to humanity. And a lot of this also corresponds again, my friend, with the activation of our dormant DNA, which is being caused by what? By the solar flares. So that is something that is taking place as a result of the times that we're living in, is that people are going to have full recollection. People will no longer be duped. People will no longer be deceived, because they're going to have all of a sudden their third eye, all right, or let's just say that their spiritual centers are going to open up, where they're going to be able to see things clearly for what they really are.
I already feel like that's happening to me. I may be crazy. I may sound nuts to a lot of people, but I feel like my intuitiveness, my discernment has just peaked like never before. Like I just I'm getting now more intuitive like downloads. I just like I've never, and I don't know if it's because I'm sober or what it is exactly. Maybe all of the above, but something has changed within me, especially this last 40 years, where I'm seeing everything like plain as day, and it's almost like I got this um 30-foot or 60-foot 60,000 view on certain things I never had before. Could this be happening to me right now?
Yeah, yeah, it's happening to a lot of people. It's happening to a lot of people that are actually, you know, living according to the laws of one, which is what Jesus taught. Jesus taught about unity consciousness. But yeah, my friend, that's part of the what we call the ascension symptoms. You're being upgraded. See, we're going beyond just the five senses. The five senses is what allows them, you know, the powers that were, to deceive us, to keep us, you know, mentally trapped. But once we go beyond the five senses, where our higher faculties begin to open up, we get to see things for what they really are. And therefore, it's impossible to deceive us at that point.
But this, like you said, this will not happen for everybody. Just a select few or 50-50. I mean, what are we looking at here? What are do you know the numbers? Are there numbers?
It all depends on the individual. You know, there are these teachings known as the raw material, which again beautifully tie in with the principles of the Christ, which is, you know, the idea that everything is one in the universe, and that we are all brothers and sisters. Okay, so according to these teachings, all you have to do is be 50% or more, 51% or more in service to others, which is what Jesus taught us, how to be in service to others, right? To let go of the ego and learn how to serve your fellow, you know, brothers and sisters. So as long as people are 51% in service to others, they will be making the shift. Now, there is going to be a distinction in densities when the shift takes place in the new Earth. You know, there's going to be fourth dimensional Earth, which is still going to be way better than this Earth, right? There's going to be no more darkness, right? And then there's going to be fifth dimensional Earth, where everything's going to be kind of magical, you know, where people are going to be telepathic, telekinetic, and we're going to have these spiritual gifts, right? Like angels, like physical angels. And then there's going to be the sixth dimensional Earth. So we are going to be, depending on the vibration also of the individual, that will determine if whether they go to the fourth dimensional Earth, which means that they're still kind of not fully there spiritually, but they still have a lot to learn. And then those that are doing the work, that are actually really spiritual, are going to be going directly to the fifth dimensional earth, where literally their thoughts are going to be manifesting at the speed of light, which means they're going to be co-creating reality like this.
So a lot of people say that what's coming this year, coming into November, is going to get pretty crazy. Like there could be a lot of chaos. There could be a lot of crime, maybe civil unrest, and maybe civil war. Do you see that happening, or is it going to be a lot lesser than what we believe? Is it because of these upgrades in DNA? Are a lot more people getting upgraded and they're not going to want this type of chaos, not going to want this type of violence as we approach into 2025?
Well, it all depends on where the individual is vibrating, because right now there is a bifurcation of Earths. If you're vibrating on the positive organic heaven on Earth timeline, guess what? All of that chaos stuff won't exist in that reality.
Or it won't affect you. You'll just be seeing it.
Won't affect you. Yeah, exactly. But if you're still vibrating in the reality where you're buying into the fear-based mentalities and doomsday and all this stuff, of course you're going to experience that, because your thoughts, believe it or not, will contribute to whatever reality you experience. So it all depends on the individual. Right now,
So it comes down to manifesting your own reality.
Yes, and also understanding that there are simultaneous parallel Earths realities from a negative spectrum to a positive spectrum, all coexisting at the same time. So depending on where you're vibing, that's what you're going to experience as well.
So we really do live in a universe of potentials.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, one thing I love to learn when it comes to studying quantum physics is that quantum physics proves the spiritual. Everything that has to do with spirituality is validated through the new evidence that is coming through quantum mechanics and quantum physics. There is a correlation taking place once again, where science and spirituality or religion are not going to be two separate camps anymore, but are going to be coming back together as one, as they were before the fall. And what do I mean by before the fall? Well, it was a time where we were all in full consciousness, directly connected to God. All right. At one point, right, during the Garden of Eden, right, the metaphor that I'm going to be using is a snake. When we took the bite of the apple, we fell from consciousness. That was another metaphor describing how really the snake, being 𝗙𝗪, the reptilian, kind of threw us from a heightened state of awareness into a lower reality, while at the same time downgrading our bodies and allowing us to incarnate into these vessels in order to create a slave race. But all that stuff is coming to an end anyways.
So how are you preparing for this? So let's say, what's Ismael doing? What are you doing to prepare for this? Because, hold on, because a lot of people are telling me, like, how do I prepare for what's coming? Do I get food, water, generators, all this stuff? Well, if you're planning to make the shift, which I'm pretty sure you believe you're going to make the shift, are you even preparing? Or are you just like, whatever happens, happens?
Well, it's smart to have at least 2 weeks of food and water, just in case, However, if you're spiritually right, if you're mentally right with God, living a good life, service to others, being kind, then you have nothing to worry about. That's just the way I see it, because there will be a split in realities taking place, right? We do have a Earth that is currently vibrating on a different dimension where there is no more darkness. And so if you're living right, well, guess what? You're going to end up in that Earth.
So, like I said, the shift, that dimension of the Earth kind of splitting. Are you familiar with 𝗧𝗏
I am, actually. Yeah. And she talks about that too.
𝗧𝗏 has brought this up many times, that there's going to be this shift, right? Is she talking about the solar flare? Has she ever talked about the solar flare? Has she ever talked about the solar flash? Is it a solar flash or flare?
Two different terminologies describing the same phenomena. But absolutely, she did talk about how the solar flare was going to be the catalyst of the splitting of the timelines, where you're going to have the righteous inherit what is known as the new Earth, which is going to be celestial paradise.
So you talk a lot about, you just said that you'll be able to remember past lives. Is that because, so if you're going to be remembering past lives, what's the point of having incarnating if you remember every life? So are you basically saying that you'll remember past lives, never having to live another life again? You'll never have to come back and reincarnate? Or are you saying that you'll remember all your lives and still have more lives to go? Or are you done with the reincarnation process once this shift happens?
Well, the reincarnation process was a trap, so that our soul could not live the state of mortality. But as we enter and we begin to activate our crystalline DNA, which is what the Bible calls our celestial body, which is unageable, it doesn't age, it doesn't die, then we will never have to reincarnate again. At that point, we're just going to be living forever.
I've
And
always thought that. I've always thought that, because I'm like, it has to be a trap. It has to be a prison planet. Why would you have to keep coming down here and doing it over and over again? Well, there's different lessons. Yeah, but once you learn that lesson, you build up more karma for the next life, and then you come back and do that one over again, and then again, and then again, and then again. So are you a believer in, when you pass away and you see the bright light, is that a trap? Is that bright light that you're being like a tractor beam into the light? Is that a trap to erase your memory and throw you back on the planet Earth to reincarnate and do this all over again?
absolutely, yeah, that was set up by the negative Anunnaki when they kind of locked our planet into this frequency fence, using the moon and Saturn, the rings of Saturn, to keep us coming back in order to harvest our energies, our what they call 𝗬𝗓𝗓 and stuff. So exactly, that was part of the trap. But that, my friend, was dismantled a few years ago by the forces of light.
So how do you know that? How do you know that was dismantled?
It's just transmissions that I've been receiving over the years. The forces of light always have the upper hand. There is a God, and good always prevails over evil. So we do know that this is the final incarnation because of the times that we're living in. We just have to be right with God and live accordingly to the laws of one. But that's my belief.
So how do you tell somebody that, let's say they're getting ready to pass away, they see the light? Don't go.
Don't go.
Yeah,
Don't go. That's a trap.
I mean, do you go back? I mean, what do you do?
Well, the thing is, that was an issue that I guess we would worry about for thousands of years. But like I said, as of like 2021, I'm sorry, that trap, that seeing the white light to recycle us, has been dismantled. So I believe that personally, since then people have now been freed from this third dimensional mortal body, and they have reunited with their celestial bodies. So that's my personal opinion.
What about someone who's a criminal? Someone who's, I mean, they've got to pay for that in some way. Like, you're telling me everyone just ascends, or are these people that are committing crimes? What bad, heinous, terrible, violent crimes? What happens to them? They don't ascend. Obviously, they don't go into the light, or do they? Do they get recycled? What's your view of hell? What's your view of hell? Everyone just ascends. I mean, what, or they just keep coming back to this planet, this Earth?
Well, like I said, not everyone's going to ascend. People that are wicked are going to recycle, and they're going to go into another Earth that is still undergoing the three-dimensional reality until they learn their lessons there. I do believe in karma. I do believe that people that are continuously doing evil things right now as I speak will not make the ascension. And this is what many call the harvest, So there is a planet being prepared for them, where it's known as 𝗀𝗂𝗶𝗹, where if they don't, you could say, if they're lagging, right? If they don't choose to ascend, because that's a choice that they made prior to incarnating into human form, they will be recycled, and they're going to have to experience another life.
So then the trap still exists then, because you said the trap doesn't exist anymore. So it would have to still exist.
It doesn't exist here in our solar system anymore. The trap was once set up in our solar system, but there is a plan by God for those that are the lagger souls, to continue their lessons in another planet until they're ready to again ascend when that time comes for that planet to ascend. So remember, there are other planets out there that are undergoing the same third dimensional reality that we are, and they also go through a 25,000-year cycle. And when their time comes to reach that end of that cycle, in order to see if they're ready to ascend, then they will ascend. But that's something that's going to be happening to the wicked, to those that are not ready to ascend.
So are you
reality? It's going to appear as if they're being they're going to disappear, or we're going to disappear from them. There's going to be some sort of a split. What was your question?
So are you on board with this? You believe this is going to happen soon? You see this happening? Do you believe 2025? I mean, that's the maximum you believe. Are you on board with that, with what Daniel says?
It sounds like it's correct. Yes. Even from a scientific perspective, man, that's where we're going to be reaching solar maximum. So it sounds like, all this is probably going to go down by spring of 2025. Between now, it could also happen before, in spring of 2025.
All right, folks, I'll leave it up to you to decide. I'll leave it up to you to decide. Leave a comment down below. You with it? You're not with it? I think it's very possible. I do, especially with that download that I got. I love to have guests like you on, challenge my thinking. And you make me explore all options, man. So Ismael, thank you for joining me. What are your books and where can people get them?
You can get my books through Amazon. The Secret Government Invisible Architects just came out about 2.5 months ago. People are loving it. It's revealing the true history of the White Hats, going back to Abraham, and how a lot of this ties into the original Israelites, not the ones of today. But and then of course I also talk about the suppressed history of the earth, going back to thousands of years. The origin. I trace the origin of the Cabal and the origin of the White Hats, and how they've always kind of been around. But you could order my book through my website as well, www.𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 Perez, and that book is mind-blowing because it is actually also the prequel to our cosmic origin. And then I'm also going to be at the Quantum Summit in Florida with Mel Carmine in about a month. I'm going to also be.
I just finished an interview with him just a few days ago. So yeah, he's holding a big what is it, a seminar?
A seminar, yeah.
Wow.
I believe it's the 10th and 11th of June. So I'll be there. I'm going to be one of the speakers. And then I'm also going to be attending or presenting at the Starseed Conference in San Diego. That's the 7th of July coming up as well.
So you're like, you are completely involved in all of this. Like, you are getting the word out the best you can.
Well, I'm doing just like yourself, my friend. I'm doing my best to help in the awakening process so that we could, help wake up as many people as possible, just like you are, digital warriors.
No, it's big, man. It's big. So folks, I'll let you decide. It's up to you. Ismael, thank you so much for joining me, man. Let's do this again.
For sure, Nino. It was a pleasure.